Today we're cracking open the official rulebook for pretty much every major building project in New Zealand. We are talking everything from city skyscrapers to the motorways you drive on. This one document is what keeps the entire construction industry singing from the same song sheet. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The sheer scale, the number of moving parts, all the people, the materials, the money, it's just a massive undertaking. So, how on earth do you make sure everyone knows their job, who's in charge, and crucially, how everyone gets paid on time? Well, the answer is a standardized contract. It's a shared set of rules that everyone, from the client footing the bill to the contractor doing the building, agrees to play by. It's the foundation before the foundation is even poured. So, what is this incredibly important rulebook? Well, here in New Zealand, it's a standard called NZS3910, and it just got its first major overhaul in over a decade. So, let's get into what it is and why they decided to change it. There's its official very long title. At its heart, it's the go-to document for big, complex construction jobs. First up was simply greater clarity. The whole industry was crying out for a contract that was just easier to understand. You know, something that clearly spells out who does what, so you avoid all that confusion that can literally bring a multi-million-dollar project to a grinding halt. Next on the list was efficiency. The whole point of the update was to streamline the really important stuff, like getting approvals or processing payments to keep the project moving and stop those small delays that can snowball into massive costs. And finally, we have fairer risk allocation. And honestly, this is a huge one. The goal here was to find a much more balanced way of dealing with all the stuff that can go wrong on a project. Things nobody can predict, like weird ground conditions or a global supply chain mess. So with those goals in mind, how does this rulebook actually get put into practice? Let's take a look at how you actually form one of these contracts. Now, this is absolutely key to understand. The contract isn't just a single piece of paper, it's a whole bundle of documents, and they have a strict pecking order. So if a drawing says one thing but the special conditions say something else, the special conditions always win. This hierarchy is designed to kill off any arguments about what was really agreed upon. The standard is also really flexible with how you price the job. You can agree on a fixed lump sum up front, which is pretty common, or you can measure and value where you pay for the actual work that gets done. For riskier projects, you might use cost reimbursement, where the client covers the actual costs plus a fee. And then there's target price, which is this cool collaborative model where if you save money, everyone shares in it. But if you go over, everyone shares the pain. So once the contract is signed, you need people to actually run it. And this right here is where the 2023 update makes its single biggest most important change. See, in the old version, you had this one central figure called the engineer to the contract. This person had to wear two completely different hats. On one hand, they were the client's agent, looking out for their interest. But on the other hand, they were also supposed to be a totally independent and impartial referee. You can probably see the massive potential for conflict right there. So, the big move in the new standard is that it splits that one role clean in two. Now you have a contract administrator who is very clearly the client's agent. They issue instructions and negotiate on the client's behalf. And then you have a completely separate independent certifier. Their only job is to be the neutral umpire, making formal decisions when people can't agree, certifying payments, and signing off on the finished project. It's a separation that's all about bringing in some much-needed clarity and fairness. So the rules are set, the key players are in their positions. How does the contract actually keep the project humming along day to day? let's look at one of the most critical parts of any job: making sure people get paid. If you want to see the new standards focus on efficiency in action, look no further than the payment process. Section 12 lays out this super clear clockwork system. The contractor claims their payment. The independent certifier issues a draft schedule. The client gets a chance to review it. And then a final binding payment schedule is issued with a hard deadline for the money to be in the bank. It's designed so everyone knows exactly what's due and when. But of course, no construction plan ever survives first contact with reality, right? Things always change. That's where Section 9 comes in. It provides the formal system for dealing with change, what they call variations. This covers everything from needing more concrete to swapping out materials. It's all about having a structured process so changes don't derail the whole project. So, you've got clear processes for payments and for changes, but let's be honest, disagreements still happen. What happens when those changes lead to bigger arguments that can't just be sorted out over a quick chat? Well, Section 13 lays out a really clear escalation path that's designed to keep everyone out of expensive court battles. First, you have to try good faith negotiation between the senior bosses. If that doesn't work, you can agree to mediation and bring in a neutral third party to help find a compromise. And only if all that fails does it go to formal arbitration where an independent expert makes a final binding decision. So we've been through a lot of detail. Let's pull back for a second. Why should any of these changes to a wonky construction contract actually matter to the rest of New Zealand? So why does this all matter? Because this isn't just a document for engineers and lawyers. It's really a new blueprint for how we build our country's future. By splitting up those key roles, it tries to get rid of conflicts of interest. By having clear timelines and processes, it pushes people to collaborate instead of fighting. At the end of the day, this is about modernizing the very foundation of our construction industry so we can get the infrastructure we need with less drama and fairer outcomes for everyone. A good rulebook isn't just there to manage a process, it's there to make the final product better. So, the big question this new standard leaves us with is this: if we create a clearer, fairer, and more efficient way to build things, will that ultimately lead to a better built New Zealand for all of us? I guess we'll only find the answer to that in the buildings and roads that rise up around us in the years to come.